Now that you have your group all here, I guess just what's your impressions of the guys you have to work with?
Yeah, I like them a lot. Like the room, like the group, like the way they compete. They're kind of just clones of each other. They kind of all do the same things well. Love our young guys, but for the most part, it's kind of what I expected. A bunch of competitive dudes that just don't say a whole lot and just want to compete, so that's good.
What are the traits or characteristics that you think is going to lead to success from your running back room?
Yeah, they're athletic. I catch the ball well out of the backfield. We're going to do a lot of things this year with them out of the backfield, and so that part of it makes it nice that they're dynamic enough where you don't have to kind of sub to get what you want. They can all kind of do it, and so we'll just be able to just in our rotations just be able to keep the guy who's in there, and that's good for as a play caller. It makes it nice. You don't have to worry about what back's in the game before you call a play.
In terms of returning production coming back, there's not a ton. So how would you just describe the competitiveness to try and get to the top of that depth chart with the depth chart seemingly wide open?
Yeah, that's good though. I mean, I don't mind that so much as far as because it's kind of a blank slate. Like I told you guys in the spring, it's a blank canvas. Get to kind of train these guys and teach them kind of the way you want it done. We're doing things a lot different than they did it last year in the backfield. So that part's been good. But they know every day is a battle, and every day we kind of just evaluate each day and. At the end of fall camp, we'll decide who the 1, 2, and 3 is.
Because what's your preferred in terms of in-game reps? Do you want the top guy to be getting 75% of them to get into rhythm, or do you like to spread it out more?
Yeah, I mean, basically your top guy's going to get 60 to 65%. But with what we're going to do this year with them in the passing game, might not be as much, but that's kind of what you want. You go into a game with, I say, 2.5 guys. You have your 2 and then a half to get you out of a game if you need to. But with what we're going to ask him to do this year, it might be a little bit less than that, so we'll see.
Herschel's in here, and I know we asked you about him in the spring, I guess. Not the biggest guy, but it seems like he runs really hard and people bounce off him. I guess when you were looking at his film, wondering whether you want to bring him in here, what stood out to say yes?
Well, I loved him out of high school. I know that. And then just his competitiveness. He looks small, but he's 190 pounds. He looks like he's 170, but he's put together. Very ballistic, hard to tackle, runs low to the ground. Great vision, really good ball skills out of the backfield, not afraid to step up in there and block a blitz. So he has all those things. It's just learning the process. So in the spring, he was learning everything. In the fall now that it's kind of repetitive for him, he's just, we say set hike and he goes. And so that's good for him.
As a senior, more than 3,000 rushing yards and more than 40 touchdowns, I guess. Can you put some context on the caliber of competition he was against in the Bay Area and what those stats
it was okay. It's B-level competition. It's not the De La Salles of the world, no schools, but I mean, those numbers are good against him. That's incredible. And he did it a bunch of different ways, inside the tackles, outside zone. But he was a very, very dynamic kid. Hard to bring down because he runs so low to the ground. Even at Utah State last year, you watch him. I mean, he was 6 yards a carry, I believe. He was just kind of one of those kids that has great vision, understands where he's supposed to be all the time.
Looks like Ashton back at running back after mostly being a wide receiver last year. I mean, do you see a more natural fit there? I guess what have you seen just from him in terms of the excitement to be back in a more natural spot?
Yeah, with him, you just want to keep him one spot and let him go. I think when you start receiver, H-back, running back, and then his mind starts going a million miles an hour because he's a smart kid. And so by putting him in one spot and letting him kind of just learn that spot's been great for him because he's big, strong, and fast. And you just got to make sure that he's kind of cued in and ready to go when the game starts. And but I've been really pleased with him so far in fall camp.
Toward the end of your first tenure here, Nevada was always top 5 in the nation in rushing. I guess what is it going to take to get back to that, where people have that kind of national respect for Nevada's run game?
Yeah, I think it's just more of just respect for kind of how we do it. Back then it was just the way we did it, right? It was just we were going to do it this way, and that's how it was going to be. This year we won't be as run heavy as we were back in those days. But as long as these guys are putting up their yards per carry, you're up there in the 4 or 5 range, then all those things they'll fall into place.
Chuba being a running threat as well, how does that impact how your guys can be used as opposed to?
Yeah, it's awesome. I love that. Like a running quarterback, to me, I've always said you have to defend all 11. And with him and his skill set, you're going to have to defend the quarterback. And that just opens up the entire run game, helps your pass game, especially your down the field pass game because teams are going to play you in man coverage. And so with his skill set and the way he could run, that's just an added plus to the offense.
I know we checked in with you in the spring, but Jeff, we asked him again, practice one, just about getting you back out here, and he said you're a safety blanket, doesn't have to really worry about anything on you, I guess. What's it feel like just for you to be back out there as a coach here in Nevada?
Yeah, it's fantastic. I never wanted to not coach. I just kind of had to not coach. But, yeah, I love it. It's kind of where I belong, I think. It's kind of one of the only things I do well. And but it's fun. It's just the interaction with the players. I love our staff. Coach Choate is an absolute stud as a head coach. I mean, just a phenomenal leader. you just kind of just want to rally behind the guy because he kind of just gets it. And that'll be, all those things fall into place. But for me, it's just been just a breath of fresh air to be back kind of where I feel like I need to be.
Coach Schultz mentioned that you needed a little bit of convincing to come back as a position coach. To what extent did you need convincing?
Well, it wasn't convincing. It was just my family. You know, I never wanted to not coach, but there was a bunch of other things that came into play, priorities, right? But we had 2 conversations last year, first bye week and then the second bye week, and really just his vision and kind of where he wants to take this program it's what sold me. I'm like, he wants the same things I want. You know, I want to be able to bring this thing back where it was, and he wants the same thing. So at the end of the day, my family was like, go for it. So once I got the okay from them, it was like, you know, full steam ahead.
I know you didn't directly coach Toa, but obviously knowing a guy for a long time.
Sure.
What is your first memory of Toa, and seeing him get an NFL contract? What does that mean?
Yeah, it's funny because Joe Batonio texted me when they signed Toa, and he goes, I remember when that little kid was a little rugrat running around the field just like being a little rat, you know. And that's what I remember, just running around the field nonstop, you know, just this little kid that just you can tell was going to be a football player. And to see the success he's had now is phenomenal. But me and Joel had an exchange back and forth that was pretty comical about remembering the days when he was running around the field, just kind of causing havoc amongst everybody.
I know you guys are trying to create something new here, but do you talk to your guys about what the buzz around this town was like during those Kaepernick years? And,
Yep. Absolutely.
You know, what it could look like again if you guys did.
Absolutely, I do. I show them. We still show some of the cut-ups we show our players are from that era because we're kind of doing the same things. So absolutely, that's what it was all about. I mean, I keep telling these guys what it was. I can't explain to you. You just have to make it happen on your own. Right? But it was a phenomenal. I've been a lot of places, and that run we had here in that era was just like as good as it gets, and trying to get that back.
You coach plenty of 1,000-yard backs. What does it take to be a running back that gets that number in a season?
Yeah, it's consistency, right? Nevada back, you got to be able to do it over and over and over again. You can't, run for 140 one game and 25 the next. It's just got to be a consistent thing that you just keep doing it over and over and over again. And that's kind of what we stress that with these guys out here. Like in practice, sometimes we'll amp up their reps. Like, hey, you're going to go 7, 8 in a row, just to see if they can handle it.
As far as returning guys, Kai and I guess Caleb specifically, if you could just give a little bit on them and what they're bringing back to the table.
Yeah. Both those guys have had great springs, but so far both have had really good fall camps. Kai especially, he's got his weight up, kind of become a leader. Really improved his pass protection skills, which is what he needed to do. But he's dynamic as heck now. I mean, you're not in the open field, you're not going to tackle him one-on-one, and that's kind of a lot of what we're doing right now is getting our backs out one-on-one in space and making sure those guys can break a tackle.
You were here at the peak of this program. I guess for folks who are considering investing their time and money into this program this fall,
Yeah.
I'm sure they'd love to hear from you why they should do it.
Yeah, well, buy stocks when it's cheap, right? Because soon enough it's going to be a big ticket, and I feel strongly about that. I wouldn't have done this unless I felt that way, but it's going to be a tough ticket in town very soon.
Earned yourself a scholarship in year number 1. What should we look out for in year number 2? What are your personal expectations for yourself?
My personal expectations for myself is to go out there and execute what the game plan is and do for my team that they need from me. My personal goals, will be established once I accomplish them. So, I'm not going to state what I want to do, but, I'm going to do what my team needs me to do first and then execute what I want to do.
If I'm not mistaken, I think we already talked about it a little bit during the spring, but having Jim Mastro as a running backs coach and the experience he has, who he coached here way back when, just what have you garnered from him now that you're starting to get fall camp under your belt a little more time?
It's a little tougher as fall camp. It's not the same as spring. It's a different learning curve. You have to be more, they're talking about availability. You got to be available. If guys are banged up, you have to, push through that, especially in fall camp. That's what makes it different than spring, because it's not so urgent in spring. And fall camp is way more urgent. You got to be ready every day. So that's the one big difference.
Coach Mastro was kind of saying the top guy's going to get about 60% of the carries. I guess how would you describe your hunger to be that guy and get that opportunity?
I'm just, pushing forward. My hunger for that is the same as it always has been. Working for being the bell cow. That's my goal, and that's what will always be a running back's goal. In any room, you should want to be that guy. So yeah, I think that's what I want to do.
What have you been working on over the summer to get yourself and your body prepared for that?
Just staying healthy, mainly. I didn't do as much, on the field work as I usually would do because I'm trying to, keep my body preserved for the season. So I think mainly just lifting, getting explosive when we did sprints in the summer, and just, staying healthy, not doing too much and not doing too little. Perfect balance.
One of the kind of buzzwords has been discipline so far this camp. I guess, how have you seen this team's discipline improve from last year?
I think, it's way better. We starting off camp the first 5 days, we haven't had as much, altercations, it's been very physical, and we were able to, keep our composure, and coaches are on that a lot more. So, our discipline is, number one. As long as we can, control ourselves within the whistle, I think we're going to be just fine.
Saw you a couple times over the summer outside of campus. Can you just speak on the team building you guys did and just how connected this group is?
Yeah, the team building we did over the summer, we did something similar last year where we, rock climbed a mountain, but this time I think it was more, catered to like finishing. We went to Mount Rose, hiked that, I don't know how long it was, but it was a very long process, and it was hard. Guys are cramping up. We had to lean on each other to finish that. I think that is, going to be how our season is. We got to push through injuries, go through ups and downs, different games, different situations. So I think, our summer stuff that we did, is very, very important, and it translates to the season.
Why should folks come and invest in you guys? What do you want people to know in town about this team and why you're worth their time?
We have a great group. Everybody's working hard. Everybody wants to win. It's like we haven't went out there and not wanted this. And I feel like if you don't come out, and support your, hometown team, we need your help too. We need everybody to elevate. It's not just us, because if we don't have the support, we don't have the home field advantage. Teams aren't scared to come into Mackey Stadium. Whatever the record is. So we have to have, that home field advantage. We got to have people in the stands because they impact the game. Seattle Seahawks, they got the 12th man. It works for them. So why not have that at Mackey? Why not have that, support from the fan base? And the stands, got to be loud. Third down, the team ain't gonna be able to hear their call on the sideline based on the fans. So I think that's very important. You got to have that support system. Whatever the record, that will increase. Wins and all that.
Mastro mentioned dialing up some old clips of those Kaepernick year teams when they were just running all over the field. What struck you about those clips, and what do you just want to get back to, I guess?
I want to win. I watch those clips. I see them beat Boise State. That's what I want to do. I want to beat Boise State. We should have beat them last year. I want to beat them at home. I want to have that same environment. Top two teams in the country, fighting for, whatever bowl game and going to the BCS, whatever. And they came out and fought it out on Mackey Stadium, and it was a legendary finish. I think, that is one thing, and also getting to a bowl game. Who doesn't want to go to a bowl game? Who doesn't want to win? Who doesn't want to, be the best team in the conference? Those are the things I see from that group with Kaepernick, Coach Verge, and all those guys. They were running the table. They were beating teams like Cal. I saw that game too. And then it was lively in the stands. That's the environment I want here at Mackey Stadium.
Running back room looks a little bit different, Ashton. How would you describe the room now with a bunch of different pieces with you this time around?
I'd say that it's probably one of the most explosive rooms I've been a part of. Everybody has their own skill set, but all the baseline attributes like speed and shiftiness and stuff like that, all those are pretty equivalent. So every play, if the ball is in one of our hands, it's going to go for some yards.
I know you didn't get as much time on the field as you would like last season. What have you been doing in this offseason to try and get yourself on the green a little bit more?
Really just being in the playbook. Obviously last year with switching positions, it was a lot tougher trying to learn those plays, especially at the collegiate level, which is, we're running an NFL scheme, so it's not, easy by any means, but, just trying to understand the playbook a little bit more and just focusing on that.
What would you say is your comfort level just moving back to running back?
I'd say it's pretty high. Obviously, that's what I've played my whole life. I think the experience that I've had so far in college, I've played a little bit of everything, especially on special teams. I've been at corner, I've been, at kick returner, I've been at gunner, punt return, all that type of stuff. So I think that it's just well versed. As a football player, it's been super cool to kind of play a little bit of everything. But now finally, on my tail end of my career, being where I'm most comfortable.
Obviously, you guys were picked last in the Mountain West preseason poll. I guess, why do you think that prediction is going to be wrong by the end of this season?
I think it's just because we know what we have. Obviously, we work really hard, and we have all the right pieces now. Coach Tote made sure through recruiting and team building and all this different stuff that he always talks about and preaches about, and it's our team, our town. So it's really just about coming together and trying to move those pieces in the right direction.
What would you say are the pieces that were lacking last year that you feel like you guys have this year to be able to break through?
Not any position specifically, I don't think. I think it's really just like the attitude of the guys and bought in and really focus on the team aspect rather than selfish or, stuff like that.
What do you feel like, Jim was alluding to some of the different things y'all might be doing this year coming out of the backfield. Obviously, having a running quarterback helps the cause. I mean, what do you expect?
Absolutely.
It feels like it's going to be a lot of different ways they're going to use you guys.
Yeah, absolutely. And like I said, with all of us having that explosive attribute, I think that it's good. I think that you can put multiple guys on the field at the same time, open up the playbook a little bit more, not just having to rely on receivers and drop back quarterback play, but dynamic running backs, 2 and 3 at a time and stuff like that.
Given how the last couple of years have gone, why have you stuck around this program?
Just because I feel like this team has given a lot to me, this community has given a lot to me. It's very special to me. Obviously, my family's here, and just because I feel like the notion of like the transfer portal and stuff like that. Like obviously, I left my first school to come back home, but I think it's just like I don't like it here bounce type of thing isn't really like my style. I like to stick with a program and really just like find my way through that and just fight your way through adversity. Honestly, I mean, I've faced injuries, I've faced position changes, I've faced coaches changes, and it's really just like staying true to the game. Like if you just love the game of football, it's easy to stick around.
I know in high school, Penn State would have been your dream scholarship opportunity. You got the area code
Yeah,
on your tricep.
yeah.
How much are you looking forward to that game specifically?
I think it's going to be awesome. A lot of my family members from back home are going to be there, so that's going to be super cool and a really cool environment. Coming out of high school, I was supposed to play in the Big Ten, so being able to go and test that against those guys is going to be dope, especially being back in PA.
Had you been to a game there ever in your life?
No, I never went. I always wanted to go. I was watching on TV, but I never physically been there, so going to Happy Valley is going to be pretty cool.
Got to ask about Aiden and what you're seeing out of him as a senior and the Lancers this year.
Man, I mean, obviously I'm that's little bro, and I just want to see him be super successful, more successful than me, and so like that's why I've taken him under my wing as much as I can, especially being in town. I try to go visit him as much as I can, go watch practice as much as I can, train him as much as I can, and just kind of give him tips and hints on what I've seen at that level and at this level, what to expect, what to see. I really just want to take him and get him to this level. Hopefully get him here in the state of Nevada.
What do you want the community to know about this group as they get ready to come to Mackey Stadium?
This is probably the tightest knit group since my last 3 years being here, and I think that we definitely need the community support. And we love the community. We love getting out into the community, doing community service. Getting with the kids, stuff like that. So it means everything for those guys to come out and support us.
Herschel, first and foremost, what made you want to come here? Was it any one person? Was it the program? What really turned your ties to Reno?
I would say my connections here for sure, and just the type of men that lead the team.
How would you describe the men that lead the team here?
Just great leaders, I would say they strive us to be, the best we could be on the field and off the field as well. But like what I like the most is off the field, like they have us making LinkedIn profiles, going on internships, meeting with donors and stuff like that. So that type of stuff I really like.
Your running backs coach was in here earlier and described you as ballistic. How would you describe yourself?
I would say I just try to, do my job and get done what the team needs to get done.
Did Nevada recruit you heavily coming out of high school?
Not at all out of high school, not at all. No, I had no recruits from any California or really West Coast schools at all.
Okay.
Yeah.
So when they came back, did you mention that at all?
Yeah, a little bit, but once they said it was a new staff, I was like, okay, I understand.
Why do you feel like you fit this offense and what Nevada's trying to do with that side of the ball?
I would say just because the type of run scheme we run, and then also that they want the running back to be active in the pass game as well, and I feel like I can do that.
You look at your high school numbers, and they were pretty ballistic, to use Andrew's word, I guess. When did you know that you could be this kind of player, play at this college level, and put up those kinds of stats?
I would say my senior year is what showed me, you know. Like I would say before that I really didn't have too much confidence, but after that year, that's what really showed me I had the potential for sure.
What led to the decision to leave Utah State?
I would say when our whole coaching staff got fired, for sure. Yeah, like that was no brainer for sure.
Makes sense.
How much are you looking forward to November 8th? What are you expecting?
I'm looking forward to, you know, I'm not looking forward to a specific date, just every game week by week, you know.
You were able to get on the field quite a bit as a true freshman. I guess, what did you show yourself about what you can do as a Mountain West running back?
I would say, you know, again, like I just try to go out there, do what I do, not try to think about, you know, what I did last year or anything like that.
What was your focus maybe this offseason to level up your game?
I would say just getting more home run runs, you know, breaking those 40, 50, 60-yarder type of runs.
And Coach Mastro was kind of talking about, you look at your kind of listed height and, you know, might think, okay, third down back, but he said that you run really powerfully. I guess,
For sure.
Where does that power come from?
I would say just my mindset, you know, just being a tough runner.
Pretty competitive group of guys there. There's really nobody at the top of the depth chart entering fall camp. I guess, how would you describe maybe the competitive drive of all these guys to try and win that starting job?
I would say healthy, you know, like we all support each other and want each other to do good. We all understand, like, for the team's like sake, the best guy has to play, and, you know, like, we're going to support the best guy.
Jim's coached a lot of dudes. What's it been like under Mastro?
It's been great, you know, like, he's the GOAT. He knows everything, so it's just been great.
Did you know much about the history here, especially those Kaepernick, Vitala years? I mean, have you seen any of those clips of how this team just used to run all over people back in the late 2000s?
I've seen some clips for sure, you know, like with Coach Mastro, he shows us some cut-ups and all that. But before I came here, no, I didn't know like anything of it at all.
What excites you the most about what you guys can be capable of, especially having a running quarterback as well?
I would say just bringing that type of tradition, what you were saying, that type of run game back to Nevada.
What do you enjoy about living here so far?
It's just being more like a city, for sure, you know, more like a city.
Running backs usually only as good as his offensive line. What can you tell us about the Union and what you've seen from those
From
guys?
our offensive line, you know, they're great. They work hard. Coach Army really got them going, and they're ready to compete for sure.
Maybe a lot of Wolfpack fans don't know too much about you because you're new to the program. What
Yeah.
do they want to know? What do you want them to know about you by the end of 2025?
Just that I got good energy and that I'm here to stay.
You got a best friend on the team right now?
I got a best friend, yeah, Dejan. We call him Whoopty. Yep, number 8.
Did you know him before you
Yeah, we played against each other in like youth football. He played on like the number 1 team in the nation. I was number 2. He was from SoCal, I was from NorCal, so that's how we knew each other.